Uruguay, Argentina, and beyond on episode 14 of Checking In. All right, I am here today with Lillian to talk about her recent trip to Uruguay. Lillian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to talk to you about this because South America is a big blind spot for me. I had to look up where Uruguay was on a map. So let's get started with the parameters of this trip. What's the premise? Who's going? Where are you flying from? Why are we going to Uruguay?
So it's been on my bucket list for a really long time. My grandparents escaped Germany and actually took a boat to Uruguay and got married when they were like 21 in Montevideo.
Wow.
I know. So I'm like, I've got to get down there and just see, like, just picturing my grandparents as, 20 somethings in Uruguay. And a little history, the Uruguay was like the Switzerland of South America. Huge amount of refugees left Europe and settled Uruguay, Argentina. So I had this epic trip to Argentina years ago, and I've always wanted to go back, and Buenos Aires is a completely amazing city. And so I convinced my husband to go on it was a 2-week trip, turned into a 2.5-week trip, which we can talk about with AA, thank you, schedules. So that was the premise. I wanted to go Buenos Aires right across the river. So I combined the two. And then I just sort of fleshed it out from there. Just started doing my usual research, deep dive into what's this place all about. Found out that Punta del Este, which is on the coast of the Atlantic, is the lifestyles of the rich and famous, the con of South America. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see that. And ended up, the trip was canceled, had to wait a year, rebook it. By then I'm old friends with all the hotel people and emailing back and forth. And they're like, we can't wait to see you eventually. And, but it just, Uruguay is amazing. It's just, it's literally a secret place to go.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of preconceived notions about what it's like. Your insight there on the immigration patterns historically are interesting. And I think a lot of people can commiserate with you in terms of developing friendships with hotels after booking and canceling them after a couple or 3 years here during the pandemic. So I'm looking at the map now. Yeah, right. Buenos Aires across the river is in Argentina, and Montevideo is the capital of Uruguay?
Yes.
Okay.
And Uruguay has 3 million people, and 1.5 million of them live in Montevideo.
Okay.
So it's a very, very rural town once you get outside the city limits. So we rented a car and just went off exploring on our own for about a week. And then because of the shenanigans with the schedule, I said to my husband, let's go. And when we go to Buenos Aires, let's also hit this other new region that I wanted to explore. It's like a up and coming wine region called Salta. And it was incredible. It's like just combine Napa Valley with ancient, Inca ruins.
Wow.
I mean, food was phenomenal. All European food.
And what month did you go on the trip? Because with the southern hemisphere here, there's an opportunity, I guess, to do. Spring and fall are nice weather or moderate weather in both locations. When did you go?
So we went in the first 2 weeks in March. And originally I wanted to go in February when they had Carnival. They have their version of Carnival like Brazil does. And but it didn't work out with the airline, the points tickets. But they have a very specific beach season. Starts middle of December. It ends the second week in March, period.
Okay.
And so you just don't want to go if you want to hit the beach, outside those dates. At least that's what they told me.
Yeah. So it's you and your husband, 2 people on the trip. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. And then where are you flying out of? How hard was it to get tickets down there? It's you think you know a lot about award travel booking, but this is a completely different destination than anything I ever searched for. What is your home airport?
My home airport is Austin, so I'm somewhat of an AA captive. And AA actually does have a lock on South America. You can do Delta, but then you're flying to Atlanta, and then you can do New York. So it's either Dallas or Miami. And most of the South American cities, I lived in Miami for 30 years. So I'm very familiar with the airline markets to South America. Mm-hmm. And Miami's just a sister city to most of these places because, they have 10 flights a day. But Montevideo has 1 flight a day.
From Miami? Or you're going from Austin, Miami,
yep.
Montevideo? Is that your route?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and then during the pandemic, they were going down to every other day. And then, so you go onto your website, you're like, my flight's been changed. And I'm not going this day. So, you have to go back to your player 2 and beg for another day of his vacation. It's quite frustrating. And but we made it. And it was like 115,000 miles round trip, business class, which I wasn't going to go. The greatest thing, Robert, the secret is that there's no time change. Like when you go to South America, you get business class, you sleep on the plane. It's at least 6 hours. This is an 8.5-hour flight. And you hit the ground running, there's no jet lag. So to me, it's an easy choice for a vacation. Unlike Europe, which you kind of feel, for 2 days, you're a mess.
For sure. Yeah, and Asia as well. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way the typical map is laid out on an American classroom. you go to the right or you go to the left.
Right.
You're going. I guess I experienced it a tiny bit. Closest I've ever gotten was flying Boston down to St. Kitts or JFK down to St. Kitts, and I'm like, we're still in the same time zone, and we flew for quite a while. So you're saying from Miami to
Montevideo.
Montevideo was that was an 8-hour flight.
8.5 hours, yep.
8.5 hours. So worth it having the lie flat seat there. And what was it, like a nighttime flight, an overnight flight, or are they typically during the day?
Yeah, no, it's an overnight. It's actually an overnight both ways, which is different. It's similar to Peru or Lima. This is a good trick for people when they're booking flights. Don't be wedded to your destination. The amount of points that American wants on the Dallas 787, Dreamliner to Buenos Aires is like triple. So, and it's across the river, it's a 40-minute ferry ride. So I just decided I would do the round trip, Miami, Montevideo. And then when we were in Buenos Aires, take the ferry, go see that little UNESCO town, Colonia de Sacramento, and get to the airport around 6 p.m. for the flight, hang out at the lounge and go. So just be creative about how you want to get to a place.
Yeah, that's a very different dynamic than anywhere else I visited. Like you're saying, overnight there. Lie flats, decent service, decent meals and such.
I complain about AA quite a bit on the Slack channel.
Yeah,
they're okay. It's funny. Like the girl doing my aisle is great, and my husband's like, God, what a jerk. Same flight. He gets no headphones. His thing doesn't work. I get warm rolls. His is freezing. It's just bizarre.
It sounds like me and Sam comparing our experience at someplace that we've both been to.
Right.
You're just on two sides of an aisle and you're getting a different experience.
Exactly.
That's just a classic example. But it got you there, and I kind of like that. You have an overnight flight, but you're still in the same time zone. Like you say, you hit the ground running after a good night's sleep, and you're not time adjusted. So that sounds like a really nice attribute of going to South America. Mm-hmm. Have you been to other places in South America? You mentioned Argentina in the past, but is this something that's regular for you, or is this kind of a new adventure?
So let's say I went to Argentina. So Argentina is huge. Like it goes north to south, but if you were to flip it on its side, it's the same width as the United States. Wow. So we're talking about a huge country. So yeah. I've sort of broken it up into regions, and I've done Iguazu Falls, and I've gone to Patagonia, and I've gone to Bariloche, and I've been to Buenos Aires. And yet I still have like 4 other regions I want to explore. I haven't been to Mendoza and the Salta region, and there's a kind of a really interesting other area that's a natural area. We like to do a lot of hiking in the middle of the thing. It's impossible to get there, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
And then there's Uruguay, which is tiny. That's kind of why I combined them. I've been to Lima. I've been all over Peru, been to Lake Titicaca. So my grandparents, I think it started with them, because when my grandmother told me they honeymooned South America for 4 months, and then they finally settled in Colombia. Now these are German immigrants settling in Colombia. And then when my mother was 11, they immigrated to the United States and became citizens.
Wow.
So I just kind of always had this fascination with, my mom lived in South America as a child, so Colombia is my next one. I'm going to hit that next January.
Oh, that looks beautiful too. So no, it's fascinating to have, obviously if you have that familial connection to a place, it gives you that, that encouragement to get down there and see it. Yeah, absolutely. So, and boy, talk about a blind spot for me. This is fascinating. Just looking at the map, I never would have guessed where some of these places are relative to one another. So, all right. So you're there. Did you say you started in Argentina and then flanked to Uruguay, or were you in Uruguay the whole time?
Yeah, no, we flew into Montevideo and stayed there 3 nights. I booked the Curio hotel it's kind of on the beach. It's like half a block from the beach. I did that with points. I think I used like 18,000 points a night.
Wow.
First of all,
not that many Hilton points. That's an affordable hotel.
The entire country is extremely affordable. You would not believe what you would pay. I mean, we would go to the restaurants and I'd say to my husband, "Do you think this is a bottle or a glass?" Because it's a glass of wine in Austin's $15, and there it's a bottle.
Wow.
And it's the greatest wine you've ever had that you've never heard of. So.
Cool. So 3 nights in the capital there to start off with. Is that like a cool, thriving metropolitan city to check out, or what'd you do there?
Yeah, it really is. So they have a very famous waterfront, and it's actually 14 miles long. It's called La Rambla, and it's they close it off. We happen to be there on a Sunday, and they close it off to traffic. So half the street is just loaded with people. I think half the population is out on the waterfront, and we rented these e-bikes. This is kind of a funny story. This is classic Uruguay. I WhatsApping with this orange bike lady, and she's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm at the Curio." She's like, "I'll bring them over." I go, "Okay." And then she's like, "Okay, I'm coming." I'm like, "Okay." So like she drops the bikes, and I'm like, "Okay, credit card?" She's like, "Nah, when do you want? Just give me some money." So I give her like $10. I go, "All I have is 10 American dollars." She's like, "Good." So I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, she's like, "When are you going to be done? Tomorrow?" I'm like, "No, we're leaving tomorrow. So why don't you come get them?" She's like, "All right, just tell the guy in the front I'll come get them later." Okay. Like
wild.
Yes. So then we hop on these bikes and we're off, and we had the best day. We went all the way down. They have a walled, ancient downtown. There's a port. They have stately plazas, and the buildings. It was all built in the 1930s, so it's Art Deco architecture. But next to that's like modern building, and we learned. I did do a half-day tour, and we learned about all the financial people fled Germany, and they just socked all their money in Uruguay. And Uruguay has an extremely stable currency, and Argentina does not. So all the wealthy people put all their money in the Uruguay banks. So it funds a very, very nice country, for the people there. And the restaurants are incredible. But again, you sit down and they ignore you, because it takes 2 hours to eat, and you're like, "Am I doing something wrong here?" Then they come over and we just say, "What do you think?" And they go, "Oh, you're going to love this." And then they disappear. And then they come back with the bread. It's amazing. They come back with the wine. It's amazing. And the fish. It's amazing. I mean, so just park your whole American thing at the door. Like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to totally just chill out.
What was the food like? What could you equate it to for somebody that hasn't been to the region?
Well, I would say it's really the best of all things in Europe. I mean, the bread's made by Italians, and the Argentinians do the steaks, and the fish is very simple. That if you order a salad, they don't bring you a dressing that's, pre-made. They hand you the world's greatest olive oil and balsamic vinegar on a little cart, little container thing, and you make it yourself. And you're like, how come my olive oil and vinegar at home does not taste like this? Like,
wow.
I mean,
that's a great way to put it. The best of Europe. I mean, that sounds fantastic.
It is. And, we learned that unlike other countries, first of all, the Spanish wiped out South America, the indigenous, like that guy, Vasquez or whatever, came and just mowed everyone down, killed every native they could. And in Uruguay, they literally killed every native person there. So it is almost 100% European descent.
Wow.
So they don't use corn, like for instance, the natives used corn as a crop. Well, Uruguay doesn't use corn in any of their cuisine. So you're going to have more of a European experience when you're eating there.
No, it's fascinating. I was chatting with my wife as we were walking around the other day, and if you don't, until you visit places, you don't pick up on things like that. You don't pick up those differentiated nuances. It's all kind of one big region. And I thank you for sharing that. I would not have, I couldn't, pinpoint any characteristics of Uruguay. And as we go along here, I'm sure we'll hear more about it. So 2 or 3 days there in the capital. Anything else to add on that? Or did you bug out and enjoy the country for the rest of the trip?
So I wanted to go to the beaches, and there's a town, it's called Jose Ignacio, and it's where all the movie stars go to. Leonardo DiCaprio goes there, and we're not those people. I mean, I'll go eat there, but I don't care. So I picked a town that was halfway between Jose Ignacio and Punta del Este, which is more of like a Miami Beach destination, so I could see everything. And we found this amazing boutique hotel called Casa Flor. It was on the Chase portal, and the guy, I had ended up booking it and then canceling and booking, canceled twice. And so at one point, honestly, I think at the end, he said, look, I'll just pay me some money and I'll give you this rate. So I think I ended up paying him cash. It was like $250 a night. But it was like going to picture your wealthiest friend's beach house in the Hamptons.
Wow.
I mean, it was... And you show up there, and of course, we're old friends because we've been emailing for a year. And he's like, welcome, and here's my sister Flor, and I named it after her, and can I get you a drink? And it was funny because the Uruguayans are so laid back and so friendly. But
sounds like it.
Yeah, but they're not. This is a funny story. So the first morning, we get up and we have breakfast. There's a little bit eyebrow raise when you say you want breakfast at 8:30. They go, okay, we'll try. So, no, they were fine. So we get up, we go to the beach, we walk to the beach, we walk to town. It's totally deserted. By then it's like 11. We get back to the hotel and I'm like, Alfonso, you told me that the town is, we're still in the season. It's totally closed. He's like, it's 12. Nobody's up. I go, what?
Recovering from the night before, or
yes,
things get rolling late?
Yes, dinner's at 11. Dinner every night is 11 p.m. So of course we're struggling, but I'm like, can you find any place open at 9? He's like, oh, let me see. So I called my friend. He said he'd open for you at 9.
At 9 p.m. That was an ask.
That was an ask, and and we finally show up there, and we're there with all the old people.
9 o'clock is the early bird special. I love it.
But anyway, I mean, and these guys, they're like the locals. They're like, yeah, go to my friend so-and-so's. He's like, oh, I would send you there, but he's still recovering from Carnival. I decided not to open tonight. I mean, they're just really, really funny. And if you just go there and let things happen to you, the best things happen.
Yeah, it's always the best kind of trip, right? Not too planned out. You said something about the Chase portal, but then you paid somebody cash. I lost the thread there. What happened there?
So originally I found them and I booked it through the Chase portal, and then it got canceled. It was booked. The trip was supposed to happen in 2021, and then I was emailing back and forth because through Chase they'll say there's an opportunity to talk to your hotel. So like the Expedia where the hotel reaches out to you. So then we started emailing. And then when I canceled, and finally we were just emailing outside of Chase. And then he said, look, just book it directly with me and pay me cash. So when I got there, I'm like, do you need my hotel? Or my credit card? You know, when you check in, he's like, nah.
Just wild.
Yeah.
And you mentioned with the e-bikes that you gave them cash. I presume that you went onto the local currency for this transaction.
Well, this one I used my credit card, yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, get the points. There's only so much cash I'll use, Robert. As you know.
Exactly. All right, so a little bit of time in the big city, a little bit of time here on the elite coast, and then where's the next destination?
Then we drove back to, I wanted to mention that, like, so Punta del Este, we were driving around, and they had an Amex beach club. So if you had a platinum card, you could get into this is what I mean, it's like Lifestyles of Rich and Famous, and it was decked out, and it was just to the nines with the waiters on the beach, and these beautiful lounge chairs, and changing rooms, and showers, and it was attached to this restaurant with fantastic food. Anyway.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, you know, we have to be careful next time we call to ask for a retention offer on a platinum card. They're going to mention that you enjoyed this place and don't you want to keep your platinum card open? But out of the blue, there was effectively like a Centurion lounge on a beach in Uruguay.
Basically, a Centurion lounge on the beach in Uruguay.
Oh my gosh.
And then hilariously, next door, not to be outdone, was the MasterCard beach club.
Wow. The world is run by banks.
It really is. But, you know, like I said, there's, you know, everybody who's anybody goes to Punta, and you don't say Punta del Este, you just say Punta. You know,
okay.
If you're local. So
we'll blend right in, I'm sure.
Right. So then we headed to, we went back to Montevideo and took a flight to Salta. But we had to change planes in the domestic airport in Buenos Aires. And, you know, it's COVID. As you know, I was recovered from COVID in Tahiti, so I had my little get out of jail free card, which is your 90 days of immunity that you don't, so you don't have to take tests. They let you in. They don't care about your vaccine status.
Actually, let me ask you about that. How do you prove that you're recovered from COVID?
So to get out of Tahiti, we had to go to a doctor and get a doctor's note stating that we were recovered.
Nice. Okay. To
get back into the United States. So I used that, and I didn't take tests. My husband's taken, you know, COVID tests right and left. And and then to get into Argentina, you had to do a whole, you know, entry. You know, all these countries have their like health entry forms, and under penalty of death, you certify everything's true. So, and then when you get there, nobody looks at it, nobody asks for it. So. And you're panicked, right? Am I going to get into this country today? But anyway,
for sure.
So went to the Salta, and so this part was really interesting. I had a friend that went. She's like, make sure you get a 4-wheel drive car, and I'm like, okay. So we get to the Hertz. We stayed at this stunning hotel in Salta. It's the best one. Comes up on all the things, and it was very reasonable. It was $120 a night. It's a 5-star hotel. But it's a tiny boutique hotel right downtown. You can walk to the main square. You can walk to dinner. And it was funny, of course. We get there. Our flight gets in at 9. And the driver's like, oh, where are you going to dinner tonight? You know? And I'm like, oh, how late are they open? He's like, well, it's Saturday. Oh, they're probably open until about 4 a.m. So this is in the middle. I am like near the Bolivian border in the middle of nowhere.
I'm looking it up as you're talking here. So we've bounced from smaller Uruguay to larger Argentina, or up far north in Argentina here, and pretty close to Chile, kind of on the eastern part of the Andes, I would imagine. Or
right, you can see the Andes when you're in the town, because it borders like the whole valley.
But the South American tradition of dining from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse. Now we have to eat at midnight. So
you're almost hoping for a time shift here to help you out. That sounds brutal.
Oh, yeah. So we just, went to a local place that was really good. Everything's really good. It's just unbelievable. The olive oil, the bread, I just can't say enough. And they have specific things that are regional. I think they had a couple Italian dishes that I had never heard of. They were sort of a mix of local ingredients, but Italian. So the next morning we go to get the car, And the Hertz guy's like, he's like, oh, follow me. So we follow him around to this kind of gated little area. It's downtown, so it's compact. And we go in and he shows us this pickup truck. And it's like a mini pickup truck, like a Mitsubishi, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is the car? He's like, you're going to Cafayate, right? This is the car you need. I'm like, oh, okay, what are we getting ourselves into? So I'm like, my husband, who's like not a pickup guy. I know we live in Texas, but he's not a pickup guy. I'm like, honey, you're driving a pickup truck. He's like, don't remind me. So we get in this car, and sure enough, you definitely need a 4-wheel drive to get from Salta Cafayate. The whole road, it was about a 4-hour drive if you make stops. It's the most stunning scenery. You know, I had just gone in May to Zion, and I thought, who could top Zion?
Really?
Well,
wow.
add Napa Valley with Zion, and there you go. You've got Cafayate. So you've got these miles and miles of just gorgeous scenery, and then these vineyards, and I mean, nobody's there. Nobody.
Wow.
You know, I mean, just absolutely beautiful.
Now, you were telling me about some special local wine. Was this the primary reason for going up towards this region for the wine?
Yeah, when I was in Argentina, I had some wine called Torrontés, and I had always remembered it. And I remember finding one bottle of it back in Austin at some point, and so I said to him, "Let's go check out this region." And Torrontés is a local white wine that they make, a grape, but I sort of thought it would be like, you know, 2 vineyards and you're done. I mean, when I say it's like a world-renowned operation, we visited some wineries. Well, first of all, we stayed at this place called Patios de Cafayate, which is attached to the most famous winery there called Este. And that hotel was incredible. Robert, the service that we're experiencing in this country, we should be ashamed. I mean, it's downright pitiful. The first time we got in, and the mattress was kind of, you know, we were like, oh, it's not as firm as we like. And we went to the front desk, and I said, is it possible to change rooms? Because our mattress is kind of lumpy and not so firm. And they're like, oh, no, but we will get you a new mattress. So we go to breakfast. We go to this incredible breakfast with, you know, fresh orange juice. I mean, it's fresh squeezed orange juice. I don't think I've had it in 4 years. And by the time we get back, the room that has a new mattress, it's completely done. Housekeeping had been there. I mean, come on. Like, what are we doing in our country? You know?
And I bet a lot more affordable as well. I mean, how much was that 5-star hotel?
$120 a night.
Oh, geez. Wow. Yeah. What an opportunity. I'm going to have to encourage people as they're listening here at the top to zoom around on Google Maps, because I think it really does give you a feel for how mountainous it is to the west of there, and how, well, you know, the Google Map shows it as green, but, you know, national parks and things like that. It sounds like It really
was. And also, like, you know, another caveat. So I had looked and I had found all these hikes we were going to do, and I had made this day of this adventure, this drive. We're going to hike, we're going to stop, take pictures. I couldn't find any of the hikes. Like, we'd go by the thing and I'm like, there's no sign. And then I'm like, it turns out in Uruguay, you literally just pull over and start walking. I mean, wherever you want to go, like they don't care if you park here. There's no signs. There's nothing. I mean, it's such a breath of fresh air to live with that freedom. You know, you literally can do whatever you want, you know, just be a good person.
I can totally relate to that. When we were out in Scottsdale, the most famous place to hike near the hotel was Camelback Mountain. And at 7 a.m., all the parking spots were taken, and anything near there was taken. You know, things are so over-touristed, I guess. And down there, you're experiencing just, pull off to the side of the road and go see this beautiful thing. I like it. Yeah,
it was really, it makes you just, you know, there's just a level of stress that we live with on a day-to-day basis that we sort of just take, you know, as like, that's the way life is. And that's why I love travel, because it really pulls you out of your comfort zone and puts you in someone else's comfort zone. And then you can sort of maybe take stock of your life and the things that you choose on a daily basis and make better choices.
Absolutely. I love that. And you travel around a ton here. I want to circle back on that. I want to put a pin in that and come back to that because this is just one trip of many for you. So I'd like to hear how that folds into your whole lifestyle. But continue, please. You're there in the Cafayate. And,
Cafayate, yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm a pro now. where to next?
I know, so we did 3 nights there. And I was telling my husband, we're talking about, because I'm starting a travel business, and I'm like, well, what's our style? He's like, you like to sketch a day and then the details just happen to you. And I was like, that's really how I do it. So I sketch it out. And I went to the front desk and I was like, I saw you had some horseback riding that you offered. And she's like, oh, yes. She motions, we're speaking Spanish. I do speak Spanish and it gets better as I'm down there, but I wouldn't call myself super fluent, but I'm pretty good when I'm in it. She's telling me, she's like, just go talk to Marco in the back. He does the horses, and bring some cash. This is a 5-star hotel, right? And this is how I'm like, all righty, I love Uruguay, So I'm like, are you,
Just bring cash.
Right. And they say, te llama, not llamas. Te llama Marco, And so Marco gets a horse. We go around. We just look around on the vineyards for an hour, and I come back, and, it was just being with the people there and hanging out and just kind of being part of their lives is so easy because they just invite you in.
Yeah.
And there's, I don't know, it's just great. I love South America. So then I met another girl in the hotel, and she's like, you've got to go see my friend's winery. It's up this road. And so, of course, we took when I say 4-wheel drive, I'm not kidding. Like, we are like, going over rocks and boulders and rivers and up this mountain, and Adam's like, where are you taking me? And I'm like, it's okay, honey, keep going. Google Maps says it's straight ahead. And of course you get there and like the door's locked and you're like, there's no sign, there's nothing. And then 5 minutes later, the woman comes out and she gives us a wine tasting. And then she hands me this platter of cheese and crackers. And it's like the greatest cheese I've ever had. And she's like, so I'm sitting on the front of this, almost no-name winery, eating the best wine. I bought some of their rosé. It was so good. It was a mix of like Pinot and Merlot, and it was very dry. And Cocoyoja was the name of the winery. And the only problem is, that with no English, I couldn't give you the details that you would learn, let's say, if you were on a wine tour in America, right? Because you would learn all about the family and like everything. But so I just got the basics. But on the way back, I said to Adam, I go, do you see that building in the distance? That's like looks like an incredible resort. So we see the signs like Piatelli. Turns out these people from Minnesota bought a winery down there, and this place is phenomenal. Now they do export everywhere, and I could give you the website in the notes or whatever if you wanted. It was stunning, and the wine tasting was amazing. And I bought a piece of art there, and like they have this incredible patio with the food was just like one of the best meals of your life. And I'm like, we just stumble on this in the middle of nowhere. I mean. Unbelievable.
Yeah, if you could, put together for the show notes links to some of your favorite places, I think people would really appreciate that. And if you're looking to replicate at least some of the portions of this trip, that'd be fantastic. And
sure.
Maybe a few photos too, because this sounds particularly spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
So then, how did you get back from there? You spent some time back in Buenos Aires at the tail end of this, I think.
Yeah, we drove back to Salta, dropped the car, it's a short flight, 2 hours to Buenos Aires, and then we stayed in an Airbnb. I had been there before, so I knew the city pretty well, and so I decided I want to go. It's kind of like a Soho area where all the hipsters live, and we were, definitely a bit older than the crowd there. But again, the guy I booked the Airbnb with, his name was Santos. He was there, his wife and baby. They're like, have a great time. I'm like, I will, thank you. And then the next door is a coffee shop, and the guy pops his head out. He's like, let me know if you need anything. I'm like, okay. I mean, like within seconds, we feel like we're part of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there was an Israeli restaurant across the street who had the craziest parties. I mean, and they're in the middle of the day, like women all dressed up in costumes, like dancing to disco music at like 2 in the afternoon. And I mean, it's just, that's why I said to my husband, he's like, what are we doing in Buenos Aires? And we go, we're hitting the road and we're walking and we're going to see what happens, because every block, I would say Buenos Aires, probably the top 3 cities in my world: London,
Really?
Tokyo, and Buenos Aires.
Wow,
And
that's high praise.
yeah, because it's just laid back. It's Paris without the attitude. It's, Italy with a little more energy, or whatever, I mean, just it has its own personality, but it's also very familiar, and you feel you're in a foreign country, but it doesn't feel like it's so foreign that you're not going to be able to navigate it in a
Yeah.
very successful way.
No, you have a great way of framing things to I think, inspire people to check out this region if it's not on their list already. So how much time do you spend there in Buenos Aires at the tail end of the trip? Another 3 or 4 nights?
Yeah, we spent 3 nights, 3 nights, and my husband's really a political junkie, and he majored in political science, and so I always do a tour that tells you about the history and politics for him. So we do and I always learn something. So it's a 3-hour tour with this. We had the same guy both days. We did the north end of the city and learned all about saw all the government buildings and the parks. And I did a Park Hyatt scout for you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, Robert, you have to go. I actually would have stayed there, but it was quite expensive. So save your points and go. I just went in to use the bathroom. And
Wait, there's a Park Hyatt in Buenos Aires?
oh my God, it's unbelievable.
I thought there was one in Mendoza. That was the only one on my radar screen, but there's one in Buenos Aires. I'm suddenly even more interested.
No, it is. I'm just like, I can't even speak. Like it's so beautiful. And I walked in, it was like being in a Bulgari museum.
Wow.
And with this whole backyard courtyard with picture those Lake Como hotels where they have the veranda out back overlooking the lake. They have one of those verandas where all their breakfast tables are. And the breakfast buffet went on it was 2 rooms long, because I just walked by it, going to use the restroom. So anyway,
I'm looking at it now. Thank you. I mean, that's a orientation marker for myself. The international flag of hospitality. Park Hyatt. It's gonna be a great experience. So, but you avoided doing the chain hotel thing there, and you did the Airbnb instead. Why was that?
Well, I think because I wanted to. So I really like the NH hotel there, and I probably would have stayed there again. These breakfasts are swoon worthy. That's all I have to say. That in South America, Argentina particularly, and their breakfast still stays in my mind. I remember you guys talking about the little things that hotels do, in your latest podcast, and you absolutely remember the things they do. But I wanted to just be more experience that particular neighborhood and feel like a local. So I did the Airbnb. I'm not a big fan of Airbnb, but I have had some good ones, and that was a good one.
Excellent. So anything else you want to add?
No, I do ask myself, that question: if the day I'm doing laundry and feel like crap, when I get home, would you turn around and do this trip again? I absolutely would. I ask myself that every time, and I would.
You travel so much. I guess I don't mean to pry too much, but is your work situation such that it's flexible and you have unlimited vacation, or how does travel fit into your overall lifestyle? Your husband's commitments and your commitments. Is it are you beholden to a vacation schedule, or are you wide open?
No, I'm actually wide open. I became an empty nester this year. And but I have been traveling quite a bit. My mother and father were the impetus for me to love travel. I mean, they started dragging me to Europe when I was like 5. And we always went out of the country at least once a year. So my whole life has been, experiencing that. And I continued that as my children were growing up. And, we've gotten in some places where kids are like, we're never forgetting today, as you know. So now I got interested in the points and miles thing because I wanted to obviously fund the travel. I do trips with my mother still. We've been traveling together once a year or twice a year forever. She was a travel agent back in the day in the 80s, and she's very savvy. She doesn't do that anymore. She's almost 80, but I'm like, hey mom, where haven't you been?
Yeah.
So we're still going strong. My dad stays home. So I'll do like 2 trips with her. And then I try to take my husband on one big one, and then we do these little trips. So, and then I'll go where anyone invites me. So
that really fleshes out a year. I mean, things go by quickly. If you're taking a decent sized trip every couple months, that might be enough for, well, anybody. I don't speak for everybody, but it's nice to be at home as well. So it sounds like you've got a great balance there of travel and home life. But you were mentioning earlier some travel agency aspirations, and you were saying you have that in the family, but it seems like there's maybe like some modern spin on being a travel agent. Like it's different than what it used to be. I don't know if it's more specialized or more digital or different. What are you thinking about there?
So back in, as you know, I went to Tahiti. My mom. So what happened was we had these expiring airline credits. Oh, thank you, AA. That they just would not extend them.
Yeah.
And at this point they had been we purchased a super cheap business class fare for $1,200 to Iceland, woohoo, and that got canceled. And then we'll just go to Asia, but of course then you have to tack on another 1,000. So now that gets canceled. So now your credit's 2,800, and then so this kept going, and finally Mom's like, these credits are up to $5K, and they're going to expire. And I was like, she's like, you've never been to Tahiti. Let's just go to Tahiti. I'm like, okay. So we book this Windstar cruise, and lo and behold, it's half full. And I start meeting everyone, and everyone's super friendly. And I'm like, everyone's talking travel. I'm like, what's going on here? Turns out this particular cruise, Windstar was hosting the 50 top travel agents in the world who sold the most Windstar. So these were these superstar people that I was meeting. And they're all thinking that I'm a travel agent because all I do is, I can talk travel with the best of them, right?
Yeah,
so they're like, wait, what? You're not an agent? What? You have to be an agent. So that I start getting all these cards, and I'm like, and my mom's laughing because she's like, you should be a travel agent. So I go on an excursion, a small one, which Windstar's great, by the way. Loved it. If anyone needs to book it, let me know. But I meet the head of KHM Travel Group, and it's a host agency. So this is how it's morphed into. You have a host agency. It's almost like insurance or something where the aggregate of people, the collective bargaining of the group gets the deal with, if I were to try as an independent agent to go book Oceania cruise line, they wouldn't give me the time of day, but I can, if I'm affiliated with KHM Travel, they've already negotiated the commission for you and the structure to obtain the commission. They take their cut. So I had my pick of about 6 host agencies, and I decided to go with one of them because I actually like the wife of the vice president. We hung out, and we're going to go on a trip together. So
that's got to be the most fortunate way to bump into a bunch of
exactly.
What a lovely coincidence.
I absolutely feel like if you're open to what the universe will offer you, it absolutely will come back in full.
Yeah. So I have been in the market or thinking about it. I have enjoyed cruising, and I want to sample the higher end of it. I've been looking at that Ritz-Carlton line, which seems to be unable to launch. And there's other cruise lines, like you say. Windstar probably is the first one that comes to mind in terms of established smaller cruises, luxurious. Real quick, how was that experience, in addition to meeting all the top producers for the cruise line?
Oh, it was really great. I mean, I used to work in the film business, and one of our clients in Miami was Royal Caribbean and NCL. So I used to do all their marketing videos.
Oh, wow.
My brother was like, you don't have a job. You just go on vacation. I'm like, well, I'm still working. I'm on the cruise ship. We're filming and, taking the models here and there and whatever. So, so like I said, I've been fortunate to have a lot of travel experience, and those particular lines now are all about nickel diming you. They get you in for the lowest thing, and then the last Royal Caribbean cruise line I was on, they walked around and said, would you like a cappuccino? And there was a $3 sign on the tray next to the cappuccino. And I thought, I'm on vacation, I'm on a cruise, I don't want to think about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should I spend $3 today?
Yeah.
So anyway, Windstar's one of those luxury ones that, cappuccino, morning, noon, night, doesn't matter. They're going to give it to you. It's a bit higher. But in the end, it all works out. People don't realize that.
Yeah, yeah. And let me ask, too, I think if Tahiti is like a destination, I would more think of as landing there and then being there at a hotel. I know a lot of us booked the Conrad Bora Bora as an example in the South Pacific. You flew there and then cruised around there. How did that work? And have you ever been to a resort there and just plopped down and stayed put in one spot?
No, I hadn't been to Tahiti. I mean, I've done that all over the Caribbean. I think I even mentioned, Antigua. Like, if you don't want to, Robert, you don't want to make that flight. You were saying the flights were incredibly expensive. I mean, you could get the same experience in St. Lucia and Antigua, in my opinion. Yeah. But I liked it. I mean, the Windstars gets in these tiny little coves. Right. The other ships were a bit farther out, and their tender, those people must have been on the tender for at least an hour, 45 minutes. But Windstar can sneak right in. So it's 20 minutes and 15 minutes, you're on the dock, and just zoom around. You just pick your excursion. Or my favorite excursion day was, we got off the boat, we got onto another boat. They took us to this out island. We did this drift dive, or like a drift snorkel. And you just kind of go in this canal, and there's coral, and the water just pushes you along. You don't have to swim. And you do it like 5 times. It's like a Disney ride. And you walk along the shore, get back in, drift. And then they took us, they're like, oh, today's the private beach party. So we went to an island, and they had picked up, they had set everything up, the food, the music, all on this island. We had massages on the beach. I mean, it was just a beautiful day. It was fantastic. Amazing.
How many people on those Windstar ships?
I think this one held like 340, but there was only 140.
Wow,
and so
that is, yeah. I mean, just for scale, typical, giant Royal Caribbean that's 4,000 or something like that, if not more, right? I mean, that's that is almost maybe like we've said before, private enough. You could charter your own yacht for sure, but it sounds like at half capacity there. It sounds like that was a very, very luxurious private experience. I'm glad you liked it.
I met this guy, Steve, all the marketing guys and everybody, the vice president of Windstar, they were all on the ship, right? Whining and dining. So I'm hanging out with them all. Denise and Diana and Steve. And so I'm on this photography expedition with Steve. We're messing with our cameras. And I'm like, Steve, you making any money on this cruise? He's like, it's kind of tight, I mean, he's like, I go, how many people do you need on the cruise to break even? He's like, I need about what we have. And so, I mean, it was just interesting that they were just they'd answer any question you had. And I said, oh, here's another question. I've never been on a Windstar, but the passengers, they were so friendly, even the normal people, not the travel people. Yeah. And he said, well, you have to understand, the people traveling right now, they are here to enjoy themselves. They're not the last minute, stressed out. These people know it took 3 tests to get to Tahiti. Yeah. And, it's not for the faint at heart. And most people just, the minute they hear 3 tests, they don't go. So just traveling at the time, I mean, I've had really an incredible time in COVID. It's kind of weeded out the crowd that you don't really want to be there when you're visiting,
Yeah, you really have to want it, right? And I think, people are on the leading edge of getting back to travel. Like you said, they're in a good mood because they, A, are traveling people to begin with, and B, they've had some pent-up demand for it. So, they're going to have a good time. That's interesting to hear how it manifests itself in terms of people's disposition on the boat there.
They were just happy to be there. And it's interesting. They'll give you a deal. A lot of people they're like, oh, well, we were on the cruise the week before. I'm like, wait, what? They're like, Oh yeah, the airline let us just switch and we just stayed. They gave us a good deal. I mean, they're trying to fill up the ship,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can do back-to-back cruising.
Wow. So are you in a position now that you could book a cruise for somebody?
I could.
That's good to know. Reach out.
I
And
know.
we can put a link for the best way for people to contact you.
Yeah. I I want to book travel for people that want to do the trips that make them like living. That's it. Like I'm not the Disney person. I'll just put that out there.
Okay.
They're Disney people. Like that's important. You need a Disney agent now. It's kind of
Right.
like, you need a book agent or something to get in there and get it all done. And so I'm going to do bespoke trips. That's my future goal, is to have. I'm planning a trip to Bhutan,
Yeah.
and I'm going to invite people and see what happens.
I like it. Well, we started off in Uruguay. We bounced over to Buenos Aires, and we wound up on a luxury cruise in Tahiti. So a really interesting and far-ranging discussion. Very nice to get to know you better. One more question before I let you go. How did you hear about Milenomics? Thanks for your support over the years. You've been a member of the community for a while. How did you hear about Milenomics, and what has kept you around?
So I started listening to your free podcast, I think, years ago, like 2009. I was there. I didn't sign up right away when you went private, but then I was like, I know I'm missing out. Those guys are so fun. Like, you guys are so fun to listen to.
Thank you.
I put the headphones on, do my laundry, cackle the whole time. Like, I always learn something new. And the Slack channel and the community's been so great. I kind of feel like I can't really contribute. I will say thank you. I did make my second million Amex points. I made a big deal about, like, I made my first million last year, and then the second just like sort of happened. I was like, what? So thanks. That's all to you guys and all your tips, and everyone in the community is so supportive, and it's a fun part of my life. I really enjoy it, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thanks for sharing that. I think that wraps it up. Thank you for your time. Good luck with your future travel agency endeavors and your future travels. Anything else you'd like to add before we close it out?
No. It was just great to talk to you.
All right. My thanks to Lillian. You have been listening to Checking In with Robert Dwyer on the Milenomics Podcast Network.